On the morning of August 4th, 2025, customers inside an AutoZone store in Bedford, Ohio, suddenly heard a gunshot explode through the parking lot. Within seconds, people began ducking behind vehicles and running for cover as panic spread across the scene. One witness later told police he saw a man standing over a woman with a handgun before fleeing the area. Another witness said the suspect jumped over a nearby fence and disappeared before officers arrived. What started as an ordinary Monday morning quickly became the center of a deadly investigation involving a young couple, a toxic relationship, and a chain of events that would leave a 20-year-old woman fighting for her life. But what made this case especially disturbing was not just the shooting itself. It was the series of statements, witness accounts, and emotional contradictions that emerged in the hours afterward. Because according to investigators, the person accused of pulling the trigger was not a stranger. He was the victim's boyfriend. And as police worked to reconstruct what happened in those final moments inside the AutoZone parking lot, they uncovered a relationship that people close to the couple described as deeply unstable long before that gunshot was ever fired. Before we continue, if you enjoy detailed true crime breakdowns that focus on real investigations, police footage, and documented evidence, make sure you like this video and subscribe to Time in Crime so you never miss another case. At approximately 10:30 that morning, officers with the Bedford Police Department were dispatched to an AutoZone location after reports came in about a woman who had been shot in the chest. First responders rushed to the scene and quickly began rendering aid, while witnesses tried to process the chaos unfolding around them. By the time officers arrived, the suspected shooter was already gone. One witness told police he had just gotten off a nearby bus when he heard the sound of the gunshot. He said he immediately looked toward the parking lot and saw a man running away from the scene before
I seen him jump over that fence.
Were you here? Did you witness it?
Oh, I was across the street. I heard the shot go off.
So you didn't hear it? You weren't here during it?
No, I wasn't here.
Okay, and you were just around here though?
I was just getting off the bus right there. I heard the shot and I seen him run. I seen him run and he jumped over that gate, over that fence right there.
Although the witness did not actually see the shooting happen, the image of the armed suspect standing over the wounded woman became one of the most important early details in the investigation. Inside the store, employees and customers scrambled for safety. One woman later told officers she heard arguing moments before the shooting. She remembered the victim yelling at someone near a vehicle outside before the situation suddenly escalated. When the gunshot rang out, she hid behind a truck and called 911. By the time she looked again, the shooter had already fled. As officers secured the area, paramedics rushed the victim into an ambulance. The woman was identified as 20-year-old Riley Jones. She had suffered a gunshot wound to the chest and was transported to the hospital in critical condition. At that moment, investigators did not know whether she would survive. While emergency crews worked to save Riley's life, detectives focused on locating the suspect. Witnesses continued providing statements, and police began piecing together what may have led to the shooting. Then the investigation took a major turn when another individual approached officers with information that changed the entire direction of the case.
Where were you at?
I was crawling out of this truck when I heard the gunshot and I walked around the back, standing over her with a gun.
He said he saw him standing over her with a gun after the gunshot. Didn't see it, but saw him standing over her with the gun.
Okay. What color gun? Handgun, pistol, try and get as descriptive as you can.
Mark, you want a witness statement now or you want it later?
Yeah, statement now. She's yelling at him to the car. And then he comes in the store and like, we call the police, make sure you know he's gone.
Caitlin, what kind of gun was it?
It was a handgun,
Black?
I think it was more tan. It had something sticking out the side of it. I don't know what it was. I'm not familiar enough with guns to give you much of a description.
Okay, would you feel like filling out a witness statement for us?
I can. I don't have a lot that's going to identify because I cowered behind the truck, didn't even get a good look at the guy, and when I came back to try and peek around the corner, when I was on the phone with 911, he was already gone.
Okay.
So I have very little identifying features for you.
Can you at least say I heard the gunshot, saw a male standing over? Can you write that down on a statement for me?
The mother alleged that she saw Riley in traffic behind him and described what she believed was dangerous driving between the two vehicles. According to her account, traffic became backed up while Riley allegedly attempted to get close to Darian's car. The mother told officers that she later received a phone call from Darian after the shooting. During that call, she said he told her that something bad happened. When she asked what occurred, she claimed he admitted to shooting Riley and said he was trying to protect himself. At that point in the investigation, officers were now dealing with a rapidly developing situation involving a wounded victim, a fleeing suspect, and competing narratives about what led to the violence.
Investigation.
So what happened, ma'am?
This is too much. They've been in a toxic relationship for a while now. I've called the police on her before because she came over. She broke windows out of his, cracked his windshield and tore his car up. I tried to get a restraining order. I live in Maple. They told me there was nothing they could do because he lives there and he'll probably allow her to keep coming over there. So
What is your relationship?
I'm Darian Hobley's mother.
Okay, that's the kid in the white pants?
Yeah.
Okay.
He had a jacket on.
Okay, yeah.
So I asked him to leave her alone. I talked to his family and her family. I'm shaking. And I asked them to leave each other alone. From my understanding, they had left each other alone. She came over this morning and was ringing my doorbell. She said he called her and he hung up on her, and I want to know why.
He called her and hung up on her? Okay.
This is what she told me. And I want to know why he hung up on me. So I'm asking her to leave because I don't want you here. Why are you here? She said that they were still dating or whatever the whole time.
Okay.
She was upset because he came back in the house. He was done talking to her. He came back in the house and she wanted him to continue to talk to her. So I kept asking her to leave. She finally left. He came in the house and said, I'm finna go to AutoZone. He's supposed to came up here to get his battery checked. Because his battery went
Is that the white car? His white car?
Yeah. Well, it's in my name. It's mine.
Right.
So he came up here. As he was driving up the Libby, I seen her in the middle of the street. She was following him and like trying to hit his car going up Libby Road.
Okay, go ahead.
So I asked her to leave him alone. I said, when I was trying to talk to her, I said, y'all need to leave each other alone. Why are you over here? I asked you to leave. And she said, well, I want to talk to him. I want to know why he hung up on me, all this stuff. So like I said, she followed him up here. Was people traffic backed up because he was trying to drive straight and she kept trying to crash into his car.
Go ahead.
So I don't know what happened when they got up here. He just called me and said something bad happened. I was just protecting myself. So I'm asking him what happened. He said, I shot her. I was trying to protect myself.
Shot Riley while she was leaning into the vehicle. He repeatedly told officers he was scared and insisted he had been trying to protect himself during the confrontation.
There's a male in white pants, black male, white pants, black zip-up hoodie, walking out towards Broadway on the phone.
Put the phone down. Put your hands up, hands up, hands up, hands up.
The Bedford Police Department confirmed the shooting suspect was Darian Hobley. According to the case report, officers noticed he had blood on his right pant leg and the front of his shirt.
What's going on? What happened to that?
I told her she was to be trespassed in my house. She didn't have my house breaking my windshield and stuff. And I told her pretty much not to come back. We kind of got into it this morning, and I was telling her not to come to my house. She was begging to come to my house, and telling her, please do not come to my house. Do not come to my house, do not come to my house. That's the biggest move because I'll get in trouble with my mom. So she's trying to come to my house. I told her to leave. Trying to told her to leave. I didn't want to talk to her. She came to my house. What do you mean? Talk to her. My mom told her to leave. Kept going.
Who is she?
Huh?
Who is she?
My girlfriend. I told her to leave me alone. I don't want to be bothered. I feel threatened.
Details immediately complicated the self-defense narrative. As detectives worked through the evidence, the investigation increasingly centered around one major question. Was this a young man reacting in fear during a chaotic confrontation, or had an emotionally volatile relationship escalated into intentional violence? The answer would become critical as the case moved forward. Investigators also began analyzing the timeline leading up to the shooting in greater detail. Based on witness statements and interviews, the morning appeared to begin with an argument connected to a phone call between Riley and Darian. According to statements given to police, Riley became upset after Darian allegedly contacted her and abruptly ended the conversation. She then traveled to the home where Darian was staying to confront him directly. What happened after that remains one of the most important aspects of the case.
Yes.
That's all right. So she came to your house. And then she followed you all the way down here. What was she trying to do?
I don't know. That's what I'm saying. It seemed like she was about to hit my car several times. She got really close in between me and another car right there. Not right there, but...
Which sewer did you dump the gun at?
I'm not...
Is it on this street? What kind of gun? What is it?
A 9mm.
9mm, what's the make and model?
I'm not really too sure.
Is it yours? Or is it somebody else's?
Somebody else's.
Alright. So is one of these sewers around here? Couldn't be far, right? We're gonna have to get it. So your cooperation is gonna help out a lot.
I don't know what to do.
You don't know which sewer?
I don't know what to do.
You don't know what to do. How old are you?
22.
22. What's your social?
Yes. I'm supposed to be going to the military soon.
You're supposed to be going to the military soon. What, how old are you?
22.
You're 22. What were you going to do in the military?
IT specialist.
Did you apply?
Yes.
When was that supposed to start?
I was waiting until October.
Waiting till October. Okay.
Yeah, I know.
You're gonna let this is your ex-girlfriend, current girlfriend, or something?
I wanted it to be my ex, guess current. I'm not really too sure how to put it, if I'm being honest.
You're gonna let this girl just kind of ruin what kind of future you could have?
Didn't know what to do.
How many times did you shoot?
I shot once.
Just one shot?
Yes.
Which hand did you shoot with?
Right.
Your right hand? You know what color the gun is? Is it gray, white, black? What is it? Brown gun? Just a handgun?
Yes, sir. Do you have any water?
Water? I do not have any water. All right, just sit tight for us.
Officers looked in all the sewers in the area and were able to find a gun behind a pizza shop. This is what the case report says.
Instead, she described a pattern of recurring conflict involving arguments, damaged property, emotional confrontations, and repeated efforts to separate the couple. According to her account, both families were aware of the instability and had attempted to intervene before the shooting ever happened. That context added another layer to the tragedy. Because in many cases involving volatile relationships, the final incident is only one moment in a much larger pattern of emotional escalation. By the time violence occurs, there are often months or even years of unresolved conflict beneath the surface. Investigators frequently examine prior police calls, text messages, witness accounts, and relationship history to better understand the dynamics leading up to the crime. In the AutoZone shooting case, detectives now face the difficult task of separating emotion from evidence. As officers searched for the discarded firearm, they also worked to verify Darian's timeline. They needed to determine where Riley had been that morning, whether surveillance footage captured the vehicles traveling through traffic, and whether witnesses could corroborate claims that she followed him to AutoZone. At the same time, the condition of Riley Jones remained a major concern. The 20-year-old had suffered a gunshot wound to the chest and was rushed into emergency medical treatment shortly after the shooting. Her condition was described as critical as investigators continued building the case. For many people following the story, the details felt especially unsettling because the violence unfolded in broad daylight in front of multiple witnesses at a busy retail location. Customers had been shopping for auto parts just moments before a relationship dispute turned into a shooting scene filled with panic and police sirens. And as more information surfaced, one disturbing reality became increasingly clear. Multiple people close to the situation appeared to believe the relationship had been spiraling for some time. Darian's mother told police she had repeatedly urged the couple to stay away from each other. She described trying to avoid further conflict at her home and said she asked Riley to leave before the confrontation escalated. According to her statement, Darian himself appeared frustrated and emotionally drained before leaving for AutoZone that morning. But despite those tensions, the two still crossed paths again only minutes later. Investigators would later focus heavily on those final interactions between Riley and Darian inside the parking lot. Even small details could significantly impact how the case was interpreted. Questions surrounding the position of the vehicle door, the location of the firearm, the trajectory of the bullet, and the movements of both individuals became critically important. And while Darian described the shooting as a reaction driven by fear, prosecutors and investigators would inevitably examine whether his actions before and after the gunshot aligned with that explanation. One of the strongest themes emerging from the investigation was contradiction. Witnesses described a man fleeing the scene after a woman was shot. Darian described a young man trapped in an escalating confrontation who panicked during a struggle over access to a firearm. His mother described a toxic relationship that had repeatedly crossed dangerous lines before that morning. Each version overlapped in some places and conflicted in others. That tension became the driving force behind the case. As detectives continued interviewing witnesses, reviewing evidence, and reconstructing the timeline, the public was left trying to understand how a relationship between two young people had allegedly reached such a deadly point. And beneath every statement, every interview, and every police question was another reality that made the case even more tragic. Both Riley Jones and Darian Holy were extremely young. At only 20 and 22 years old, the couple's relationship had already become associated with allegations of conflict, emotional instability, and police involvement. What should have been an ordinary stage of young adulthood instead became the focus of a homicide investigation that unfolded in front of terrified witnesses at an AutoZone parking lot. As the interrogation continued, detectives attempted to gather more information about the firearm itself. Darian admitted the gun was not legally his. He described it only generally and appeared unable or unwilling to provide investigators with clear information about where he disposed of it. The inability to immediately recover the weapon added another obstacle for detectives attempting to verify the sequence of events. Meanwhile, investigators also examined Darian's emotional state during questioning. At various moments, he appeared distraught and disorganized. He repeatedly returned to the same themes, saying Riley would not leave him alone and insisting he felt threatened. But detectives continued pressing him on specifics, especially concerning the exact moment the shooting occurred. One important aspect of the questioning involved whether Riley knew the gun was inside the car. Darian claimed she did know about the weapon and alleged she reached toward the area where it was stored. According to his statement, that movement caused him to fear she might gain access to the firearm. But investigators still needed evidence capable of supporting or disproving that account. Physical evidence inside the vehicle would become essential. Detectives would likely examine fingerprints, blood evidence, ballistic analysis, and the position of the door and seats to better understand what occurred. Witness testimony alone could not fully reconstruct the shooting. And in cases involving claims of self-defense, even slight differences in physical evidence can significantly alter legal interpretations. As news of the case spread online, many people focused on the emotional nature of the interrogation footage. Darian's statements appeared chaotic and filled with stress, while his mother's interview carried visible fear and exhaustion. Together, those moments painted the picture of a relationship that multiple people believed had become dangerously unstable long before the shooting happened. Yet despite all the emotions surrounding the case, investigators still had to focus on facts. What could be proven? What witnesses actually saw? What forensic evidence showed? And whether Darian's actions legally constituted self-defense or criminal violence. At the center of the investigation was a devastating reality that could not be changed. A 20-year-old woman had been shot in broad daylight. Witnesses watched her collapse in a public parking lot while customers hid nearby in fear. The man accused of pulling the trigger admitted firing the shot before fleeing and discarding the gun. Everything else would depend on evidence. As detectives continued building their timeline, they also examined the couple's communication leading up to the confrontation. Statements suggested the conflict may have begun over a relatively minor disagreement connected to a phone call earlier that morning. But investigators understood that in emotionally volatile relationships, seemingly small arguments can quickly intensify when deeper unresolved tensions already exist beneath the surface. That possibility became increasingly relevant as police reviewed the broader context surrounding Riley and Darian's relationship. According to statements provided during the investigation, family members and others close to the couple were already aware of repeated problems between them. The mother's comments suggested previous incidents had escalated enough to involve police calls and attempts to keep the two separated. For investigators, that history mattered, not because prior conflict automatically determines guilt, but because relationship dynamics often help explain the emotional environment leading up to violent confrontations. As the hours passed following the shooting, officers continued searching for the discarded firearm while detectives gathered additional statements from witnesses at AutoZone. The parking lot itself became a critical crime scene as investigators documented vehicle positions, searched for shell casings, and attempted to establish the exact sequence of movements before and after the shot was fired. Every detail mattered. The distance between the victim and the suspect, the position of the car door, the timing of witness observations, even the direction Darian fled after the shooting became important. And while police worked through the evidence, the public continued hearing two competing narratives emerging side by side. One narrative described a young woman aggressively pursuing confrontation, despite repeated warnings to stay away. The other described a young man who escalated a volatile argument into deadly violence before fleeing and throwing away the weapon. Those conflicting interpretations would continue shaping discussion around the case as more information emerged. What made the investigation especially emotionally charged was the fact that almost everyone involved appeared connected through personal relationships rather than criminal backgrounds or gang-related violence. This was not a random attack between strangers. It was a deeply personal confrontation involving two people who knew each other intimately. And according to statements gathered by police, people around them allegedly feared the relationship had become destructive long before the shooting occurred. That sense of inevitability often makes cases like this especially haunting, because afterward, many people begin looking back at warning signs they believe were already there. Arguments, escalation, repeated conflict, emotional instability, attempts to separate. All of it suddenly appears far more serious once violence enters the picture. As investigators continued sorting through the evidence, one thing was already certain. The AutoZone shooting would become more than just another police call in Bedford, Ohio. It had transformed into a case centered around questions of fear, intent, emotional volatility, and whether a deadly decision made in seconds could ever truly be justified. And for Riley Jones, the consequences were irreversible. By the end of the first phase of the investigation, detectives had established several major facts. Riley Jones had been shot in the chest inside the AutoZone parking lot. Darian Holy admitted firing the weapon. Witnesses described him fleeing immediately afterward. He later acknowledged disposing of the firearm in a sewer. And according to both his own statements and his mother's account, the two had been involved in a deeply troubled relationship leading up to the confrontation. But many of the most important questions still remained unanswered. What exactly happened in the seconds before the gunshot? Did Riley truly reach toward the weapon, as Darian claimed? Could forensic evidence support his version of events? Or would investigators conclude the shooting went beyond self-defense? Those questions would shape everything that followed. And as detectives pushed deeper into the case, they would soon uncover additional details that added even more complexity to the investigation surrounding the AutoZone murder. The moments after a shooting are often where investigators begin separating panic from intent. In the AutoZone parking lot, shooting that left 20-year-old Riley Jones fatally wounded, police were no longer trying to determine who pulled the trigger. Darian Holy had already admitted that. The real question now was whether the shooting matched his claim of fear and confusion, or whether the evidence would ultimately point investigators in another direction entirely.
Okay, is there anything you wish to tell us? I know you said that you got into it with your girlfriend, right? Where do you live at? You live in Heights, and she came to your house today?
Yes.
How'd you get over here?
I was going to AutoZone because I have a bad battery, I believe.
You're going to AutoZone. She followed you to AutoZone?
She went to somebody else's house, stayed there until I left, and then followed me all the way there. She sideswiped my car. She's been following me all through traffic. I've been telling her to just leave me alone. I've been telling her to move away from my car, but she keeps bothering me. She keeps antagonizing me. She keeps trying to hit me. So I'm just like, okay, can you move? I've already dealt with her trying to hit me and stuff, so I've been telling her, please move, please move. Can you move away from my car? Can you not touch my car? Do not touch my car. She opened my car window. She put her hand in the car. I did not know what she was gonna do.
You were in your driver's seat?
Yes.
In your car?
Yes.
Is your car still at AutoZone?
Yes, it should be.
What kind of car do you have?
A Chevy Cobalt.
What color is it?
White.
That's your car. It's registered to you?
It's registered under my mom's.
It's your mom's car. So she stuck her hand inside your car, like
She opened the door.
through the window.
No, she opened the door.
She opened the door. Your driver's side door?
Yes.
Okay. And then what happened from there?
She put her arm in the car and I just shot.
Were you in fear for your life, or?
I was in fear in general because the way she reached, it was where my gun was.
Did she have any weapons on her?
No, but she reached where my gun was. I don't know
where was your gun at when she reached in your car? It was by your seat.
Yeah.
On the left side?
My right side.
On your right side, like in between the center console?
And she reached.
Like to by her right knee? It was like in between the car seat and the center console?
Yeah.
Okay. And she was grabbing, so she would have had to grab over you.
She did.
Did she know that you had a gun?
Yes.
Okay. And what was she trying to do? Why were you two arguing, and why is she following you in the first place? Could she think she lives with you or something?
Honestly, it's just something petty. I really don't understand why it has to get to this point so often. But I just called her. I seen where she was at, and I texted her.
30 radio.
She didn't answer, and then when I called her, she said, okay, she was getting weed, and I was just like, okay. Hang up. She said, while we was on the phone, well, she called me again.
What address were you at? That's when she started following you?
And one of the most important witnesses had been sitting only feet away from Riley when the gunshot was fired. Back at the AutoZone parking lot, officers interviewed Riley's friend, who had been inside a nearby vehicle during the confrontation. Her statement would introduce details that significantly complicated Darian's version of events. According to the friend, the argument between Riley and Darian had actually started earlier in Maple Heights before both vehicles eventually arrived at AutoZone.
Guys, can you just stay away from the car for me? Maybe hang out somewhere else?
You know, if my ride comes, will I be able to leave, or do you guys
Did anyone gather your information?
The guy that had on like the blue, he wasn't in uniform.
Yeah, he gathered your info?
Yeah, my ID
okay,
and
then yes, I
everything.
think you're good to go. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Ma'am, just real quick, you were with her the whole time?
Yeah, the whole entire time.
So what happened? Like
They were just arguing. The argument just got to a point where
started over in Maple Heights?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And she said, pull over, let's talk. So eventually they end up pulling over in AutoZone.
Okay.
She gets out the car.
She parked here?
No, she parked behind his car. I moved her car when she got out the car. No, I moved her car when I went to pull off, when I thought he was coming back out another time.
Okay.
Yeah, that's when I went to pull off.
So he went into AutoZone and out of AutoZone?
Yeah, he shot her, went in.
He went in, told him to call 911.
And then came back out.
And then came back out.
And then like tried to pick her up.
Oh, did he? I didn't see that. He came right up to her, which was right in the general direction of me, so I went back behind
Yeah, and that's why I ran into the car to pull off, because I'm like, oh, don't shoot me. Like, he already don't like me, so don't shoot me.
Right.
So, so when I pull off and I see that he's trying to pick her up and trying to help her, I pull the car back around, because I'm like, okay, maybe he's a little bit more sane right now. And I think when I heard the ambulance coming, that's when I pulled the car over here to get out of the way.
Right, okay, fair enough, yeah. So the interaction, you were sitting in the car right behind when he shot her?
Yeah.
What was going on during that time?
So she came back to the car, so she went to his car. They talked for about like 5 minutes. She came to her car, asked did I find her phone. I found her phone, I handed it to her. Phone is like done for, it doesn't work anymore.
Right.
And I handed it to her, and so I go back to she goes back to the car. I'm still sitting behind the seat. She says, you broke my phone again for the second time. And then I don't know what happened in that little amount of time, but as he's getting out the car, I hear the gunshot. It didn't even sound like a gunshot. It sounded like a BB gun, like a firecracker, something like that. It didn't sound like a gunshot. So I'm like,
where was she standing when that happened?
Like, this is the door. This is his driver's side. This is him getting out the car. He shot her. She fell on her back.
She just pretty much fell back.
Yeah, she literally just fell back. She didn't even, there was no fight back, no nothing. She just fell back. I heard her scream my name, and as I was about to get out the car, I seen him walk back out of AutoZone. So I'm like, I don't want to get shot. So I pulled the car off.
He shot and went
in AutoZone.
He told them to go call the police.
Darian pleaded not guilty. But as the legal case developed, Prosecutors and defense attorneys continued negotiating around the evidence, witness accounts, and Darian's own admissions to police. Eventually, Darian accepted a plea agreement and pleaded guilty to involuntary manslaughter. That plea became a major turning point in the case, because while prosecutors originally pursued aggravated murder charges, the eventual resolution reflected the complicated circumstances surrounding the shooting, including Darian's claims of panic, fear, and emotional distress during the confrontation. Still, the guilty plea also meant Darian formally accepted criminal responsibility for Riley's death. Months later, during a February 2026 sentencing hearing, the emotional weight of the case became fully visible inside the courtroom. As Darian addressed the court, he appeared overcome with emotion. Through tears, he told the judge he never intended to hurt Riley.
She reached for it. She got scared. I did what I heard. I tried to help her. I asked somebody to call 911. I tried to help. I didn't know what to do. And everything was so overwhelming. I walked away. I just needed a new scenery. So I walked away. And I thought to hurt myself. I made a bad decision and got rid of the gun, but it wasn't to avoid prosecution or indictment. It was just, I just didn't want to hurt myself. I thought Riley was going to be okay. I just thought to myself, if she's okay, maybe she will have something to say to me, whether it goes good or bad. Maybe she have more questions. I never thought.
Darian was sentenced to years in an Ohio prison, but it won't be for the rest of his life.
All right, so the sentence on count 1 is 1 year on the firearm to be served prior to and consecutive with an aggregate minimum sentence of 7 years on the underlying count to an aggregate maximum sentence of 10.5 years on the underlying count. Count 5, 24 months. Counts 1 and 5 to run concurrent to each other. You have an 8-year sentence to serve up to 10.5 years. You're ordered remanded and transported.
The AutoZone shooting unfolded inside an emotionally volatile relationship where nearly every witness described confusion, arguments, emotional escalation, and instability. Even Darian himself appeared uncertain while describing the relationship during questioning. At one point, when detectives asked whether Riley was his current or former girlfriend, he admitted he honestly did not know anymore. That statement may have sounded simple, but it revealed something important investigators had already begun noticing throughout the case. The relationship itself appeared trapped in an unstable cycle where separation and reconciliation constantly overlapped. And according to statements gathered during the investigation, people close to the couple allegedly recognized those problems long before the shooting occurred. Darian's mother described repeated attempts to separate the two. Riley's friend described ongoing arguments and tension leading up to the confrontation. Darian himself repeatedly told officers he felt overwhelmed and unable to escape the conflict. He repeated the claim that she reached toward the firearm and said he became scared during the confrontation. According to his statement, everything happened extremely fast, and he did not know how to react in that moment. Darian also addressed his actions immediately after the shooting, He acknowledged asking someone at AutoZone to call 911 and claimed he attempted to help Riley before leaving the scene. He admitted disposing of the firearm afterward, but insisted he did not do so to avoid prosecution. Instead, he claimed he had become emotionally overwhelmed and feared hurting himself after the shooting occurred. During the hearing, Darian stated that he believed Riley might survive after being shot. He told the court he thought there would still be an opportunity for them to speak afterward, regardless of whether that conversation would have been positive or negative. But Riley never recovered from her injuries. And inside the courtroom, the reality of her death remained at the center of every statement. Cases involving intimate partner violence often carry a different emotional atmosphere than crimes involving strangers. The courtroom is rarely focused only on evidence and legal arguments. Instead, there is often an overwhelming sense of grief connected to the destruction of a deeply personal relationship. In this case, 2 young lives had effectively collapsed inside a single moment of violence. Riley Jones lost her life at only 20 years old. And Darian Holy, who once claimed he planned to join the military and work in information technology, now faced years inside the Ohio prison system. When the judge finally delivered the sentence, Darian learned he would not spend the rest of his life in prison. However, he would still face significant time behind bars for Riley's death. The court imposed a sentence that included additional time connected to the firearm involved in the shooting. Altogether, Darian received an 8-year prison sentence with the possibility of serving up to 10.5 years under the terms outlined during sentencing. Following the hearing, he was remanded into state custody. According to Ohio Department of Corrections records, Darian Holy was later housed at the Lake Erie Correctional Institution. Records indicated his expected release date was set for August 2033, at which point he would be approximately 30 years old. For many people following the case, the sentence immediately sparked debate online. Some believed the punishment was too lenient, given that a young woman lost her life during the confrontation. Others focused on the emotional instability, chaotic relationship dynamics, and Darian's repeated claims that he acted in fear during a rapidly escalating situation. That divide reflected the complicated nature of the investigation from the very beginning. Because unlike cases involving carefully planned violence or attacks between strangers, the AutoZone shooting unfolded inside an emotionally volatile relationship where nearly every witness described confusion, arguments, emotional escalation, and instability. Even Darian himself appeared uncertain while describing the relationship during questioning. At one point, when detectives asked whether Riley was his current or former girlfriend, he admitted he honestly did not know anymore. That statement may have sounded simple, but it revealed something important investigators had already begun noticing throughout the case. The relationship itself appeared trapped in an unstable cycle where separation and reconciliation constantly overlapped. And according to statements gathered during the investigation, people close to the couple allegedly recognized those problems long before the shooting occurred. Darian's mother described repeated attempts to separate the two. Riley's friend described ongoing arguments and tension leading up to the confrontation. Darian himself repeatedly told officers he felt overwhelmed and unable to escape the conflict. A relationship described by witnesses as toxic and emotionally exhausting had reached a permanent ending through violence. And according to the evidence presented throughout the investigation, the warning signs may have existed long before the gunshot was ever fired. If you enjoyed this breakdown and want more deep-dive true crime documentaries built around police footage, court records, and documented investigations, make sure you like this video and subscribe to Time in Crime for more cases just like this.